Everybody, welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Joye. Welcome, Dr. Joye. Super excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I am excited about being on your show today, Randi.
All right, we're going to just start with getting to know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in South Georgia, and I went to college most of the area down in this part of the state until I got my doctorate down at Fort Lauderdale at Nova University. And I've been writing books now since 1999 and have a huge selection, about 15 books that I've written. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you about one of the books that I wrote called Special Parables of Joy, Triumphs of the Disabled. And I love what I do. I've been involved with the History Channel on some of the research that I've done. I do a lot of research. All of my books, of course, are nonfiction, a lot of research involved in it, but a lifetime of enjoying trying to help people find their way in this life and to see the positive things that you can learn to do and believe in yourself, and you can be quite successful with it. And so it's kind of nice to, like I mentioned to you before we started the show, is that I had issues when I was a child. And sometimes the disabilities that we encounter can actually help us help people in the future or around us. And we don't realize that we have this God-given talent. And so I'm thankful that I was given the opportunity to serve a number of people that I feel like really went to their highest levels of potential. And so I wanted to kind of catalog that in a book. And like I say, the Parables of Joy, the Special Parables of Joy, Triumphs of the Disabled has been a real, I guess it's very close to my heart, but it was one of those books that you wanted to write because of the people that you know influenced you and that you influenced them. And hopefully in doing that, and people that are having trouble or not sure if they can make it in this life or feel really down and out about things. Sometimes when you read about other people and what they're able to do, then it gives you some stepping stones. And so it's all my books, I think, are things that will help you find stepping stones and not stumbling blocks in your life.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's how I got started too, using my story just to help everybody else. And it's funny that you were talking about your gift and how you're so blessed to have been doing this, because it was I want to say 2 weeks ago. Although by the time this episode airs, probably like a while ago. But anyway, it's about 2 weeks ago. I was participating in a little, what do they call it? Like a little church session thing. The pastor has been doing on Thursdays a series on work and faith. And the one that I am thinking about right now, they were talking about what is your calling and how do you know it's your calling, that kind of thing. And so when it was my turn to talk, I go, well, my calling is the gift of gab. So what you were saying, going through all the struggles that I went through has made it to the point that I am now able to share my story openly with everybody else and to try and give a platform for others to share their stories so that we can all just realize that we're all just one big people.
Right. And everybody has a story. Everybody has issues. I mean, that was one thing when I was going through my work, especially in guidance counseling and psychology, teaching me to counsel people in all aspects of problems and disabilities and substance abuse and all the kind of things that we go through. What I found was that, everybody, we have the diagnostics, actually the DSM, which is a manual that really gives you a category. And it was interesting to me that, if you took any of the tests, psychological test or whatever, most people, even on the Minnesota multiplistic test that you can take, personality test, everybody came up with a category. So
we're all somewhere.
So we all got issues. And so it's kind of bad when people want to label people. And that has really drove me a long time ago to say, look, when people have issues, you may not, if you go to the doctor and you have a cold, you take an antibiotic or something that will help with the cold. But then when people have other mental disabilities, then they seem to be shunned. And I don't think that's really a fair analysis, because most of the people that I've dealt with, you can typically find a root of of the problem. Where did the root actually start at? And in my life, that's how I really overcame some of the problems that I had, because I was able to go back and identify the root and then work toward making a difference from that point in time. So there's a lot of therapies out there. There's reality therapy, there's, desensitization, there's all kinds of things that you can do.
Yeah.
But I think that the thing is if you can see where you were and when something happened and changed your life, either from an organic problem or something that was, maybe something you were born with, which could be a genetic problem.
Mm-hmm. Actually, last year, the year before, I recently found out that I have a genetic problem. Who would have known?
That's right.
My kid got tested and then he had it. So they're like, okay, we test the parents. So then I was tested and they're like, oh, you have it too. I go, okay.
Well, and the thing about it is, it helps us understand a little bit more about what makes us all individuals. It makes us who we are. And everybody has a reason and a rhyme to be a part of all of this. And that's one of the things in my research I try to show, that regardless of even mental capability, there's a bell curve, and some people fall down here low, and some people are normal, and some people have very high intelligence. But the thing about it is, we were all supposed to be here. Nothing in this world is out of coincidence. And that's one of the things that I show in my other works that I do, is that scientifically, I can literally prove that everything that's here was meant to be here. And that at the spark of the sperm touching the egg, when that electricity manifests itself and there's this great expansion of energy, that literally you were born at that point in time, and you are given life for a reason. And one of the things that I found in working with people whose level of mental capability was at the lower end of the bell curve, I learned so much from those people that it made me a better person. It made me try harder. It made me see that if they could do this, then I could do that. And so in that particular book, I show how taking one handicapped individual, and I'm talking about physically and mentally, and some of them with a dual diagnosis, that had a diagnosis of schizophrenia or other types of bipolar disorder and those kinds of things. If I could make them see that they could take these next steps without being so judged by what a psychologist had told them, or a psychiatric test had told them, or a developmental disability test had told them, if I could just say, look, what is it that you would like to achieve at? And then I went at it and broke it down in skills that they could learn and use to move along, but never saying, you've got these problems, you can't do that. Yeah. I would always encourage it. If you want to do that, I'm going to take the next step with you. And what I saw when I got the first one to rise above, then everybody else that was around them that had these same problems, that didn't maybe seem quite as bad as their problem, I had people standing at my door going, Dr. Joye, help me do what she just did, or help me do what he just did. It was like, I love the story of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And I used that story in a way in the work that I did. Because if I could find that one person who had the odds against them, and if I could help them soar to great heights, then it just seemed like the rest of the flock who had all kinds of problems were like, oh, they can fly. And they can fly, and they can do this, and they can be more normal, and people accept them. And I mean, it was just an opportunity. And so that is what drove me in the work that I did for 13 years as a training center director, to find those little specific tidbits. And it was things like Special Olympics. It was
Yeah.
things like running in normal 5K and 10K road weight races and winning against the so-called normal athletes, or getting the chance to play on a normal athletic team. And then there were some of my people that I worked with, clients, who were, great singers, great musicians. So, I mean, we had solos, we had people, we had a band, we had people that we could perform, and people were just like, oh my gosh, they never dreamed that those people that they once saw as being not so-called normal, not in that little part of the bell curve, all of a sudden they were impressed.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love that.
yes, and as they achieved, and I started taking pictures, putting it in the newspaper, doing a write-up. And so then when these people would be downtown, somebody would go, oh, Johnny, I saw where you performed at so and so and so and so. I didn't realize you had such a lovely voice, totally blind, just and people would come up and say, hey, I saw the trophy that you won running the 5K road race over 2 hours from where we are. I didn't know you could run a 10K.
Yeah, everybody has different talents.
Yes, and so instead of making it like you got to stay right here to be normal, there's all these other things. And of course, if you're down here on this little area, people really just don't want to take the time to work with you. You have to do a lot of repetitious training, but it can be done. Yeah. And it's different on this side of the curve where you're brilliant and you just don't, you learn so fast, and it frustrates people because you're just going at 100 miles an hour. And so I understand what it's like to work with people here while I was over here. Okay. People used to tell me, they'd say, when I first took the job, they said, oh, Joy, you'll never be able to do it. You can learn like this. You don't have any problem. You're athletic. You can do all this kind of things. You're going to be dealing with people who are slow, who can't do it. I heard every excuse in the book. But what it did was allow me to take what I already believed and apply it. Yeah. And so then it was a wonderful experience. I actually did my doctoral thesis on reducing the weight. The problem is in this area, they never get out, they never do, they never think they can do. So I reduced the actual weight reduction and put them in a more normal weight class. And you would be surprised once they understood that they could do these things, that they had choices, that they didn't have to eat potato chips every day, that an apple was actually better for them. I mean, and then when they went out to work, they held out longer, they were able to be more productive, they made more money, therefore they were able to buy homes. I mean, there were just other things that happened once you gave opportunity to them. Yeah. And so, some things, like I say, a person can have an organic problem, but there are other things like natural things that you can use. Like a lot of people who have issues are magnesium deficient. There's other kinds of things. If you need to incorporate this into your diet, there were people that I dealt with that, when they had started out as young children, they smoked all the time because they didn't do anything but sit and smoke because nobody had anything to do with them. Yeah. And the caffeine, the nicotine was actually causing problems. So, once you stop that, and one particular person I had, it was causing them to have actual seizures. So we reduced the seizures by stopping the nicotine. And then I had some heart problems. They were drinking caffeine all the time. We changed and got the caffeine away. They quit having the heart problems. So there's a lot of things that happen to us that we, unfortunately, that psychology can take and use to make you think that you're mentally not good. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with your organic chemistry and all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah. And actually we had a great win this year with school. So a lot of people have been complaining about the online school and it's so horrible, blah, blah, blah. But there are some kids that are thriving on it. Absolutely thriving on it. So my youngest, he just started high school this year. So he's in grade 9. And he's got autism and anxiety, ADHD, everything under the sun. They just kept adding more letters, right? Mm-hmm. But throughout his school years, it's always been like you were saying, oh, you can't, because there were so many behavioral issues, because of the big class sizes. And they were giving him work in grade 6. That was for grade 2, just to mitigate behavior issues.
Right.
So we actually homeschooled in grade 6 because I was like, why is he doing grade 2 work? Like, he's totally capable of doing his grade level. He's not, his intelligence level isn't the issue. The behaviors are the issue.
Right.
But the school didn't want to deal with the behaviors, so they just gave really, really easy work. In grade 7, he went to a treatment facility for a couple months to help with those behaviors. Amazing experience there. Coming back, though, still going to the school wasn't a good thing. Grade 8, amazing teacher. I loved her. My favorite teacher we ever had. She was awesome. And now, this year, in first semester, so he's been put into what's called what's it called? School to work, which is just like a level of grades. So here in Canada, where I am, we have academic, applied, school to work, and then school to community. That's just like the levels for classes. And so he was put into school to work because he does have a reading writing disability. And like I said, the work that they were giving him was so far behind. So they're like, I don't know if he could keep up with actual grade 9 work. And with all the behaviors, I don't know. First semester, he blew everyone away. He got straight A's in grade 9, in his grade 9 classes. And so in second semester, he had this science class, and it was again the school to work one. And he goes to the first couple, and I say go, I mean like meet online, and sees the work, and he's like, this is so easy, this is stupid, like why am I doing this? This is a waste of my time, because it was so easy for him. And that's not to say that the kids that were in it didn't need it at that level. Everyone is different, and I think that's what we need to appreciate, right? But the school recognized that he did so well in first semester, and he's very capable of doing it. So now he's in the applied science and loving it and still getting 80s. And it's like a totally different person because he can see that he has achieved it,
Right.
and that people are noticing he's achieving it. Right. And it makes him want to continue to achieve more.
That's right. And that's exactly what I found in the work that I did, is that you find that one thing that gives freedom of being able to do this great, rewarding that, and that it just makes them soar into areas you cannot imagine. There's some people that need to get up and walk around. They can't sit there for 30 minutes just focused on something. Their attention spans are shorter, you know, and there are people who are very intricate, can sit for hours and look at one thing all day long. I mean, it is finding that niche. And I have used this before in trying to explain to someone, you know, my mother wanted me to play classical piano. I took 6 years of classical piano. I hated every minute of it, trying to play Bach and Beethoven. It would just drive me nuts trying to look at the notes and trying to get my fingers to match it on the piano. And I would just be, my heart would be going 100 miles an hour. I'll be sweating. I mean, you know, like Panic City, trying to get it right. And I was just like, I really want to play the piano, but I would really like to play Romeo and Juliet and sing. I'd like to really be able to play this song and sing it. And I would try to get something like that. And then I'd be playing the notes and trying to sing, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, oh, can't do it. Just can't do it. So I picked up the guitar, and somebody showed me how to play chords. And later on, somebody came up, I was in a music store, and a man came up to me, and I was looking at a, what we call a clavinova, which is kind of like an organ and piano.
Okay.
And he said to me, he says, Joy, don't you play guitar real well? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you could play this like you play the guitar. And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, you know, like you play a C on the guitar, you can play a C, and he hit it on the piano. He says, you mean after 6 years of piano, nobody showed you that? And I'm like, oh no, I was supposed to be playing Bach and Beethoven, Tchaikovsky. I mean, I had it down.
Yeah.
So, and I said, it was like so much stress. It was no fun. So he says, well, all you got to do is just memorize the chords like you do on the guitar. Yeah. Would you believe, Randy? I got my husband at the time, who's now passed, to buy that organ piano for me, with me not being able to play stuff at all. Took that book home, memorized the chords, and now I can play any song. I play church music. It doesn't matter, whatever song it is, as long as I've got that chord music, I can play it.
Woo! Woo!
So
it's amazing what you can do.
but you know, if I had just believed that that was the only way to play the piano, I would have never been able to do. I mean, I played for funerals, I played for weddings, I played for church services on, you know, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights. I mean, I performed. I have my own album that's of my original songs. Yes, I have an album. In fact, it's called Dr. Joye Before Time Stops. There are 12 songs on there. I play all the instruments because once I mean, I play like 20 instruments now. And it was all learning to do this my way. But if I had believed that after that 6 years that I could not do that, I would have never had the success in my music that I have had. So what I'm trying to say is we all learn things a different way. And if you can find that little thing that sparks you on, and once that man told me, hey, if you play that, you can play that on the guitar, you just go home. And I came home and I memorized all those chords. And I'll never forget sitting down and playing my first song and singing to it like I wanted to do all those years ago. Now, if I had started doing that when, let's say, I was like 15 years old, oh my gosh, what I could have achieved. I mean, it took a long time for somebody to really run, you know, for me to run into in my 30s, for somebody to say that to me. And so, you know, it just goes back. We all have these talents, but it's how you learn and how you get information. And it's how you've had things happen in your life. I mean, people who I dealt with who had schizophrenic problems, bipolar problems. I mean, some of this can be traced back. They were either physically abused as children. They had some kind of sexual problem that happened. I mean, there's all kinds of things. If you're willing to go back and try to find where these issues happen, many times they're not really mental health problems. They've just become that. It's kind of like the story that I talk about in the book. I even talk about myself, about the problem that I had. I was 9 years old and I fell off a jungle gym set. I was the very top. I was very athletic and fell off and fell on my chest. And it knocked me out. And there's a chance it broke my neck. We didn't know till years later when I had a CAT scan on my neck that my neck had actually been broke. But I laid on a sofa out in the country little home where I grew up. And every time I would get up, I would have a chest pain right in the center of my chest. And it would hurt so bad, I would double over. So they took me to like little doctors and things in a small country area. Nobody could say, they'd say, well, we can't find anything. There's nothing wrong. But yet it would be like, I couldn't stand it. It would be so painful, I couldn't take it. And so I went through trying to tell people that I was hurting and nobody believed it. And so that led to a lot of panic disorder because I didn't want to go anywhere because I didn't want to get one of those pains and then not be able to lay down. And I would have to lay down and breathe real shallow. And what it had done had torn the intercostal cartilage in my chest. And so I have an area in my chest that if I do a lot of athletics, I can get it to come back because it's just a weakened area. But for so long, I mean, I would be at school and then it would hit and I would just be panicked because it'd be so hurting so bad. And yet they would call your mother to come get you. And then she would be like, well, we can't find anything. And I'm like, this pain was like excruciating. It's like somebody taking a knife and actually jabbing it through me. So when I learned about what had happened and went back and kind of put it all together and started working with, you know, athletic training and stuff to build muscles and things like that, that would kind of help with the stability of my body, then it helped me understand what was happening and why it was hurting, and not in your mind thinking, oh my gosh, nobody else can understand this. So, you know, maybe something's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. So you start doubting, well, am I really not feeling something, but yet I can't move? I mean, it was all these kind of weird things. And so, you know, I brought that up in this book because I wanted people to understand who read about me. It's not something that I'm just throwing out there. I've had experiences with things that have helped me understand how to take those next steps and build on it. And it's a process. It's a real process. But your son is a prime example of what I'm talking about. You find that little niche and you can do great things. When I found the niche about playing the piano, oh my gosh, you know, it's just, It's a wonderful thing. When I found
Yeah.
the niche about how to do exercise and how to avoid irritating the area that I had, actually damaged as a child. I mean, there's all these kind of things that go into making us who we are. And so many times people, you go to the doctor, they have 15 minutes. They can't do it and give you a pill in 15 minutes. You're taking up time. They've got to be able to have, so many patients to pay for all the whatever they've got going on. I mean, really. So when you come in with a problem that's not like normal in that little curve and you're out here on the sides, then you're kind of like given a quick pill or pushed down, or like they did your son, let's give him some easy stuff just to keep him satisfied and push him through school, but never give him what he really needed. And now, oh my gosh, what are the opportunities with what he is good at that he can excel at, and he could be some PhDs teaching that course one day. I mean, and I've seen people who were on this side of the curve who actually have been given really low intelligence capability. I know a man that went through his life like that and had a little bit of a problem, and it was an organic thing, and he now has a 3 or 4 PhDs, and he's a minister. But he can tell you what it's like to have been down here with these people and be put down there with them because something's wrong with you. You can't learn, you're.
Exactly. We need to stop telling people what they can do and instead help them to do what they want to do.
Well, unfortunately, our education process has formed a box around people. They want to put everybody in the same box. And that is just not possible. People have too many different capabilities, and you cannot be everybody cannot be put in the box. If you put everybody in the box, then you're going to have a lot of people fail. Yeah. The ones that can handle the box. I was not a person who could handle the box. I mean, I dance to a different beat. I actually play the drums. I mean, I play the drums, and so I have a beat in my head about stuff, and, and I've got a certain way that I have to do certain things. But if you put me in a box and just lock me down, I would just get to the point, I can't take being in this box. It's about to drive me nuts. I would be in class, and the thing you were talking about, being able to learn at different levels. When I was in school, I got things quick. And so 2 or 3 minutes into the class, I had it down. But somebody else over here who couldn't get it for the next 2 hours, the professor would have to go over and over and over, and I would get so bored, and then I'd start sweating, and then I feel like my heart would start racing, and I'd think, come on, Joy, pay attention. But it was just that I could pick it up and I needed to move forward. I had a teacher one time that didn't like questions. Well, unfortunately, my mother said when I came out of the womb, I was going, why? I have asked why forever in my entire life. And I'll tell you this joke that I tell my best friends know about. We were going down the highway, and as usual, I was, just a young girl and a child. And I was asking my mother, well, why is so-and-so? Why is so-and-so? And I was, why is this? And it was really because I wanted to know. It's not being like cute or stupid. Okay.
Why? I
was just asking. And she goes, Joy, she says, can we be quiet for the next 10 minutes? Just the next 10 minutes. And I sat there and I looked at her and I said, well, Mama, we'll be home by then. She says, I know. So in other words, she just wanted to get me out of the car. Yeah. So anyway, I had a teacher one time that I asked a question about why he put a decimal point in the 0. I was in college. This is college class. And I couldn't get it. I wanted to know why that's it. And he finally turned around to me and says, cause I said, put it there. He could not explain to me why he was putting that there. Lordy, did he make my life miserable because I asked that question. So there, it was not that I was being mean or that I was trying to make him look stupid or that I thought I knew more than he did. My life has always been. That's why I'm good at what I'm able to do, because I can ask enough questions. And my dad wanted me to be an attorney. And so my first 2 years were in pre-law, and my books are written like I am presenting it to a jury to say, if you can find something that I haven't found, I want you to tell me, because I have searched everything to prove this to you. Yeah. But the thing about it is, in the way that we function, sometimes that's really good for the work that I do, because I find the different pieces of the puzzle and put it all together, and then you can see the big picture for yourself. Mm-hmm. But sometimes when I'm dealing with you on a one-to-one basis as a friend, I may ask you enough questions that one of my friends go, okay, Joy, okay, no questions, just let's let it slide. and it's not that I mean to be mean, it's just that I'm that inquisitive.
Yeah.
So it helps me do what I do in some cases, but in some cases, it has also hurt me. So there's where I'm trying to show people in the work that I do, especially this book that we're talking about today, the Special Parables of Joy. It really does let you know a little bit about me, about how I became what I am, and then how I help other people find the same thing like your son did.
Yeah.
That place to excel, the place that finds that great thing. I mean, one time I was out teaching, and I talk about this in the book, how to play golf to some very handicapped people. I mean, like physically messed up handicaps, all kinds of problems. Okay. And so I'm trying to show them, you take this and you put it like this and you hold the club like this and you've got to swing like this and go through every bit of what it is to teach a skill. Yeah. Okay. I have this one young lady, she's probably 60 years old. Hands are real nubby, very, 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 very bad problems as far as physical problems. She grabs that golf club, holds it the way she wants to, hits that golf ball, and it must have went 500 yards down the fairway. And I'm like, how did you just do that? It was because she had a natural talent. She had hand-eye coordination, and I was not about to go, okay, Betty, we're not going to hold that golf club that way. We've got to do it just like the book says you've got to do that. She could hit that ball straight as an arrow. And nice. I'm talking about way down the fairway. Just walk up to it. I'll hardly even take 5 seconds. And when I play golf, I'm going to get it all just right and get my right and the arm stretched out and stand there and do a couple little swings and make sure I've got it and then put it up there by the ball and check everything. She just walks up, bam, and it just goes. Well, she did quite well in Special Olympics. And she ended up with a PGA handicap score that she could play with anybody on any golf course anywhere as a normal athlete. Wow. So what I'm saying is we all have talents. Find what it is. Don't listen to other people who put you down. There's a different way to skin a cat. I used to have a little thing that says you can find a different way to skin a cat. You can always find a different way to skin a cat. And I kept that on my desk because I always knew that whoever walked into my office was going to be different than anybody else, because the people I dealt with had all kinds of different disabilities. Okay. It was
and
not
everybody is different.
They couldn't see, they couldn't talk, they couldn't walk, they were blind. I mean, I knew that whatever walked through my door had issues to start off with, but it was my thought, there's a different way to skin this cat, to give them an opportunity to excel at something. I had a lady who could not hear and she could not speak, but she loved to dance and we didn't know it. Okay. So we had a band come out to the facility and we had cement flooring. And as you know, like a drum beat and a bass beat will vibrate through the cement. I taught her how to dance and she could feel the beat. She took her shoes off. She could feel the beat and she could go out and people would have thought she could hear every note that was being played. She was feeling the vibration on the cement and would dance every dance until they quit playing.
That is fantastic.
Amazing. So that's what my work is about. All of my work is to try to help you see that you are not just some piece of grain of sand floating in a universe that was just put together by a Big Bang Theory. There is a creator who created you. He gave you special talents. If you just look, if you take the time to look, if you have a handicapped child, take time to look. There is a reason and a rhyme for every person that is here. And if you find it, oh my gosh, life becomes like a light song, because now you know that you were given this person in your life to make you what you are, to help somebody else. We are here to help other people. We are children of God. He wants us to help each other, not box people in, not talk about people, not really label people, but give everybody the chance to be the best they can be. And so that's what my work is all about. That's what my books are about. That's what my poetry is about. My music, everything is to try to help you gain what I fully believe God gave us to do in this life. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be able to do that. And I can honestly say, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I've had a lot of tragedies, but then I've also seen a lot of triumphs. And I want people to see how you can make things that you think are stumbling blocks into stepping stones into where you can achieve your greatest while you're alive on this earth. You've got a purpose, and I'm trying to show you that you can find it, but sometimes you got to look for it.
I love it. And that is a perfect way to kind of end our interview. But of course, first, where can everybody find your books?
Okay, you can go to www.drjoye, and it's DRJOYE. That's joy with an E.com. And all my books are there. You can click on the links, it'll take you there. If you're interested in my music, it'll tell you what to do there. And then if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's Joye, Joye, Pugh, and you can friend me. My Facebook page is open to everybody. And so, you can message me. And then I have a radio show that I do the last Monday of every month on YouTube from 8 to 10. And I answer questions that people send to me live. You can go on the chat during the thing and send in questions to the person that does the moderating for me. And I try to answer some of those, but then I have, oh my gosh, I get questions from all over the world. So there's just huge number of questions, but you can submit that. There's a form at my website at drjoye.com, and you can fill it out and send it to me, and then I'll answer it on one of my shows. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing a lot of podcasts, a lot of radio shows, and you can follow me on the radio shows and things that I do like today by going to my Facebook page and just clicking on and getting to listen to particular shows that I've done. So that's the easiest way. I'm very accessible. I don't go by pen names, so it's really me. The book, the stories that you will read in the special parables of joy and the parables of joy on a Georgia farm, colors of joy, all those things in all my books are all, like I say, nonfiction. They're true. And if you've got a question about any of my work, I don't mind you messaging me or sending me an email or sending me a question. I just appreciate it.
If you're going to ask questions, you have to be able to accept questions.
That's right. That's right. And, I always feel like it's fun because lots of times on the show, I won't know, what kind of question I'm going to get. And I may get something very serious. I mean, really like way out there. So I have to stay abreast of what's happening and have it a part of what I do. But it's always fun. I said, it feels like I am a doctor in an emergency room waiting to see what's going to come through the door next. And you don't know what skill you've got to use. You've got all these skills and all these things that God's given you. And that whatever comes through the door, whatever question comes, God has already given me an answer to be able to help somebody. So it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy very much what I do. So thank you so much for letting me be your guest, Randi.
Yes, I'm so glad that you came on the show. And all of those links, we're going to have it in the description down below so people can really easily find you.
That would be great. Listen, I just wish your son the best of luck. And I do believe that he has found that calling and that he may be headed to great, 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 great heights. And that's what I pray, that God has given him that door. And now that he can see that it's open, that he has an opportunity to pursue what he wants to pursue.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks again.
That was so much fun talking to Dr. Joye. I had a great time. Be sure to check out her links down below in the description. Give her a follow. Check out her books. She has a wealth of knowledge to share. So let's let her share it and learn from what she's learned from, because that's the way to end the stigma, right? Is to keep sharing that knowledge out there. Of course, I am rocking one of our merch things. It's one of the tank tops. So it's my favorite saying, same one that I have on my sweater. But sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But it is nice out today, so I figured I would rock my tank top. If you want to get one for yourself, head on over to the merch store, and 10% of those proceeds goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.